Okay, and now we should be live. Hello everyone, how's it going this fine evening? Today, yep, the stream is up. Today I am playing with Blender 4, Blender 4.0. That's right, 3.6 is not even out yet, and I'm already jumping to 4, because we just got some incredible new technology. Loops! Serial loops! No more having to copy a node group 100, 1000 times or whatever. We just have loops now, and it's amazing. So we can do a ton of new effects that are incredible. I'm so happy about it. But yeah, I should probably showcase some of the features before I... Let me show you how to... Well, let's wait until some more people are in the stream. But I have a couple examples right here. Here is a visualization of all the numbers, all the index numbers, displayed with text right there. Here we have a similar thing, but also spawning in a custom cone with the amount of points that is shown here. This can be any value, just displayed with the numbers. So yeah, Blender 4.0, very nice. And this one converts mesh islands into instances with the midpoint being put back into the object center. So now, in theory, if you wanted to, say, fracture an object and it's all one, you can separate them very easily. So yes, this is Blender 4.0, a special, I think it's a patch branch? They haven't added them into the main branch just yet. But I'll have to check up on that. But I think they'll be adding these very, very soon to the main branch. So I'm very excited about this. And maybe I'll get started with just showcasing or demonstrating how to make the index display. So let's go and move this over to here. So let's have this be a new one. And there's a chance this may crash. I've had one crash so far, which isn't too bad. But if we look up serial loop zone, it's much like the simulation zone, except, you know, it's just a loop. So essentially, if you have a node group and you copy it a ton and feed it into itself, that's what this basically does. Just a little bit better. So here I'm going to do a few interesting things. So one thing that we're missing, because this is the first iteration, is that we don't have an iteration counter. So it doesn't know what iteration it's currently on. The good thing is we can implement that by simply doing this. I'm going to switch this value to an integer. It's not really necessary, but I just do it anyway. So there's that. We have a loop happening. In this case, I'll set it to 10, even though we'll set that to be dynamic, which is very nice. But this will just keep adding 1 every time that a loop value happens. So here I'm going to join some geometry, and this part will be very interesting. So here we have the plane as the input geometry. And I'm going to spawn in a, let's see, what do we want to spawn in? I think, yes, let's do the text example. So for every vertice on this object, I want to do 2 things. So I want to get the statistic, the attribute statistic, that is the index. But since I don't want to evaluate the entire mesh, I'm just going to say if the index of this mesh is equal to the iteration count here, which will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh wait, this needs to be equal. Equal, there we go. Sorry about that. Then select that vertice and instance, or get that data. So here we go, that's that part, well and good. There will be, the Blender devs have planned to make parallel loops, which will do this even easier. But this is how you do basically parallel loops with the serial loops. Kind of. But that's that. So now we have the index value. So we can extract the mean, or yeah, the mean's fine. And then we use the value to string node to do that. I'm going to hide everything else in here just to make it better. And then I'm going to use a string to curve node, just like that, and plug this into here. Please don't crash. Okay, now we can see that absolutely nothing is happening. That's because I forgot to hook it up. There we go. Now we have all the numbers here, which is good. But there's just a little problem. Here, let me go and move these over to the side and also put these into frames. The problem is the numbers are not in the right location. So we need to get the vertex location. So to do that, we'll just copy this part right here. Instead of getting that data, the index data, we'll switch this to vector. We'll unhide this so that we could put in the position data for there so that we get that for every vertice on the thing. And then we go and I think we can use a transform node. Yeah, that's fine. Or maybe a set position. Either one will be fine. No, transform. So there we go. Now we have this, the numbers in the right location, but there's just a little thing missing. We don't have the full amount of indices, or full amount of index things there, if that makes sense. So to get the accurate amount, we get the domain size to determine how many times we want to loop the loop. So in this case, boom, we have every single point having a number being displayed. Okay, there we go. And now let me just rotate these, have that be like 90. And then after this loop is done, we can't put these into node groups just yet, which would be very nice just to have a node group and you just plug it in and then boom, visualize this data on all the points. But yeah, there we go. That's pretty nice. A few things that I did in the more official version that I made, I could like fill in the gaps, but I also optimized it so that wouldn't be too laggy. These are instances, so it's not bad, but it could be better. Okay, actually, yeah, let me fill the curve. Fill curve. Actually, I also want to set spline resolution to 2. That should be good. Let me put that in, cancel that out. There we go. So this should be all well and good, and I can set the material to be whatever I want to differentiate it. Let me put that in there. So there we go. That's how you do it. Again, this is the not quite as clean version, as we can clearly see. It's a little bit messy. Again, when parallel loops become a thing in 4.0, which is planned, fingers crossed, it'll be much easier. But if you want to do it, that's how you do it. And yeah, that's part of the power of loops. All these points here just being displayed, and it's completely automatic now. That's the power of these loops. No matter what you do, it'll just keep doing it for however many iterations we say, which is very nice. Alright, so that demonstrates that, which isn't bad. Again, let me show you the better version. There we go. This is the cleaner version of the effect. So if you want to take notes, that's where you'll take the notes. Can you break from a loop? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Okay, so another thing that we can do is spawn in custom geometry, which we kind of did with the string to curves. But I'm going to put in a cone piece of geometry. I'm going to have the index determine... That might be a really bad idea. Oh well. Yeah, let's have the index determine the vertices of this cone. That might be a really, really bad idea. But we'll see. Depth, let's make this like 0.1. And then I'll change the geometry to instance, just to make it, you know, a little bit better. And I can join it into the fold, like this. And I also need to translate it. So let me do that. There we go. So here we can see that we have the indices showing up as the amount of vertices on these cones. So you couldn't do that before. Here we're just creating custom geometry, having that show up there, which is very, very cool. Again, so much functionality has just been added to geometry nodes that we did not have before. So much. And again, this can be any value. It doesn't need to be the index. In this case, I'm going to make it a random value of integers. So here, all of these cones will be some value between 10 and 3. As we can see, that's currently happening. Before you couldn't do that. You could probably like instance cones with that amount, but it wouldn't be automatic. Here, it is completely automatic. Just whatever you want, right there. So this can be very useful for, say, tessellation and such. Here we can also, I should probably point this out as well, we can make it so that it works on the face domain. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, face domain. So here we have all these appearing where they are. You could use face corner and all that, but you'll need to switch all these values. Which, in a utopia, we would have a kind of better way of getting around that. But here we can have the index of all the face corners. They do kind of intersect, but for a demonstration's sake, it works. So edge count, I think this may look cool. Edge and edge. There we go. Look at, ooh, that's almost I was gonna say a hexagon pattern, but not quite. Is this the latest daily build or experimental? It's a patch. So it's an experimental build that, if you look up Jacques Luc's tweet about it, he has a portion, he has a little thing that says what it is, where it is. Sorry. I'm a little excited about this, so I'm kind of tripping over my words a bit. So much more functionality. This means that, like, my hair simulation things should now be possible rather easily this time around. Yeah. Alright. Every time I see loops/simulation nodes, I shake in my boots. I don't know how I'm gonna learn it. Well, this stuff is very advanced. So, this stuff is more for people to build, to automate processes. So, stuff like this, it's like, oh, I need, well, I don't know. Don't stress about it, because quite often, these are tools to build tools, if that makes sense. Rather than, oh, you'll use this every day in your workflow. Like, once I make this node group, I may use this fairly often to visualize geometry nodes to see where the bugs are. But I won't make all of this from scratch. But main thing, to demonstrate this loop node, here, let me just, I hope that this doesn't crash. But the serial loop node is literally, you make a node group, then copy it a ton. That's what it's doing. It's just feeding a node group into itself over and over and over again. That's what it's doing. Just in basic terms. And that's also what the simulation nodes are doing, except it does this every single frame. So every frame it just, you know, iterates a node group. That's the power of it. And the difference is, you know, they're inside these kind of zones where you can get data in and out easier than with node groups. Is this a for each loop? Not necessarily. It's a serial loop, so a loop that just repeats itself. Now, I've kind of made this one so that it'll work for each vertex on the object. But the Blender developers did specify that parallel loops will be like for each loops, and they're a bit different than these. So we can abuse that behavior in order to make for each loops, which I've done to make, say, convert mesh islands to instances, as I've done here, or display all kinds of other stuff. But yeah, lots of fun. Lots of fun. This is good. So, yeah. So, they work with the simulation loops we had before. Been needing this for a while. They should. There is a chance that since this is day 1 of this being available in a experimental patch, that it'll crash. And I'm a little hesitant to go and do that. But, yeah. I just found a screenshot that has a break boolean in the output. Break boolean. Yeah, I'm still not sure what you mean by break the loop. Or stop the loop, do you mean? Maybe. I'm not sure. Here, it just has the iteration counter. So it's like, oh, only work for this many. which I'm very happy that that's implemented. Yeah. So in theory, I could put like a max or a minimum in there, and then it'll limit it. But maybe, we'll see. The break stops it when a condition is true. Okay. So in theory, we could make that functionality here. Arcane. Actually, no, I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, so a break one would be useful. Like, you could, in theory, say, hey, when the iteration count gets too high or when a condition is met, make it so that, you know, no new stuff is added to this thing. But yeah, what you stated before is probably quite a bit better, because it can happen inside the loop. Alright, so that's good, and now I just need to think of what to make next, because there's a lot of cool stuff that can be made eventually. Like for each loops, again, will make this process easier. Again, this is day 1. Okay, so what to make next? I guess it makes fractals quite a bit easier. Because, say, here, let's just try. Let's put a serial loop. Oop. I'll get very good at spelling serial very soon. So if we use an extrude mesh node and do this, instead of needing to, say, make a node group for each one, we can just do that. And then this one will have no offset scale. Then we can scale the elements to kind of inset it. So we'll have this be 0.5. So here we should see, there we go. Uh-oh. Did I, how many vertices is this? I think that is way too many. It is individual. So let me just have that be that. That be that. Oh wow, that's intriguing. Well, it works. Scale elements, scale, oh wait, no, that's wrong. I have this, whoops. Extrude, and then scale. Then I feed that into here. What did I do wrong? And I set that condition to be true from the get-go. Oh, right, that. Okay. I wanted to... Okay, no. I did have that correct, for the most part. There we go. Okay. So instead of having to copy the node group 5 times, I just go and say, hey, just scroll that, and then all of a sudden, boom, Eiffel Tower. Or more of the spire. I guess. And the offset scale and everything like that. I think I could use the face area to go and manipulate that. Except we set this to like the square root. There we go. Very nice. Incoming 7 billion vertices. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Like, that seems fine. Like, here I'll set this to 5 and disable the, okay, there we go. Like, here we're getting close to the 7 billion. But there we go. Yeah, I wish I could make a better fractal, but my brain... I'm not sure I have the brain power for that at this current moment. But again, I've done that with regular, like, copy the node group loops before. This is basically a big quality of life feature that will, well, basically automate a ton of processes that we would do manually by copying a node group 100 times. So loops, it's finally happened. How are they performing? Performing normally. I don't really see any huge detriments. I think in one of the devlogs they said that there may be a memory leak caused by a certain issue, but I haven't really been seeing it. But yeah, this, the funny thing is I think this value being displayed by the number here is one of my favorite parts, because since it updates normally, it's all very cool. I kind of wish this would be like a future request, but I wish the viewer did this automatically, but it's good that we have the functionality inside of the node. And here as well, yeah, spawning in objects on there, that's another good thing. That'll make tessellation a bit easier, I think. And then also for the instances, turning mesh islands into their own instances. We couldn't do that before. The Blender devs did propose a node that would do that automatically, but it never came around. Yeah, there we go. So many cool things. Okay, so what else? Like, I want to think of something that I wasn't able to do before. Let's see. Oh yeah, let's try making a tree. So let's start out with just a point. Yes, let's make a tree. So we need to switch this to a vertice so that we can then extrude it. But we need the serial loops, which actually I don't know where they are. If in the proper tree. I'm not even sure if they're there at the moment. But we put that as the input geometry. Extrude the vertices. Do that, put it as the output. Put that into there. Let's loop this quite a few times. Okay. So it should be extruding that vertice up. And then keeping it going. Oh wait, but we need to make it so that's only the end. I need to set the vector output. There we go, set that to 1. I was worried that if I didn't have this, it would keep duplicating it all weird, but I think it should be fine. Serial loops are in the layout category. Okay. Let's see, let's rotate this vector. Let's see, rotate vector. Also, another thing that I'm looking forward to in 4.0 is the quaternion rotation nodes. Because just today, I was working with some very annoying stuff that hopefully... that's why I was worried about. Since it keeps extruding on every single one, it just gets a little exponential. But here I can make it just one line, and then I can decide, okay, which ones will... let's see, let's make this an OR node, so that I can have a random value determine... Let's see, how many branches are there? So there we go. Kind of a very low-budget tree idea. Oh, wait, but I need to make it so that... Okay, I need to do the iteration loop counter again. Again, that's going to be implemented regularly, so I won't need to do the spaghetti right here. There we go, and we plug that into the seed value. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So that spaghetti will be gone eventually, with the updates coming to the thingy and all that, but for now, it's not too bad. So there we go, tree. Again, quite a bit of this is technically possible in the previous versions of Blender, but it was extremely difficult to do and very tedious. That was the big thing, the tedium of it all. Because here, who wants to copy a node group, 50 times just to get an experimental tree? Which, this will cause many crashes for users that are like, oh, let me just subdivide, loop it, and then, yeah. So just keep in mind that this may, may crash your computer if you do not respect it. Actually, should I loop the rotations? Because you can say, add these two together, every single loop, and do all that, so that they're a little more consistent. Wait, no, I should mix between them. That's better. And I could use stored named attributes to turn down the amount of spaghetti. But for here, I'm just trying to, make this as simple as possible. Wait a minute. The data is not mixing as it should. It should just be appearing in a straight line when the thing feeds into itself. Because the data goes in there, and then it goes in there, and then it goes in there. That may be a little bit buggy of a result. A little surprised by that. Interesting. Actually, let me store this as a named attribute. I know this is getting very messy, but that's because it's experimental. So I get the named attribute, which is a... It's good that those work right off the bat. So we don't need that spaghetti in here. Take that out. Okay. It's also good that we can just see what's in this part very easily. So named attribute, a... Maybe I should give it a start value, because, yeah, that's what I was worried about. So, before the loop happens, these are very similar to simulation nodes, just that there's no, like, actual simulation with it. It just does it all at once instead of over time. Ooh, that's what I was going for. There we go. Now it's looking good. Or decent, at least. There we go. Let's clean this up because this has gotten way too messy, way too darn fast. Combine that with that. Very good, very nice. All right. There we go. Oh, that is so much prettier. There we go. So the power of loops. Going from just one to a lot. Which actually, that is extremely pretty. That could be a simulation. That would be a very, very good simulation. I am saving this. I should, at least. Has this been released? This is with an experimental patch with Blender 4.0. Jacques Lux on Twitter made a little announcement with it, with also a link to the patch in the comments of that. So this will be offset. Let me just put this in here, and whoa. That is beautiful. I'm very surprised that's that good. We see that, and then all of a sudden, and it just turns into... Wow, that's a very interesting kind of sweet spot there. That is incredible. Oh, I know why it's looking that great. It's because the scale doesn't do anything normally, but since I'm mixing between the random value and that, it doesn't rotate, it just kind of gets squished because it kind of goes in a linear path, so it's kind of scaling every time a new iteration happens. Unintentionally. But it's making it actually look like branches and such. That is so good. Man. And this could be a simulation, which I think I will go and convert this into a simulation right now. Because the conversion process should be extremely simple. Let me save this. So simulation zone. So to make this a simulation loop, it should be as simple as... Okay. Dang it. We first crash. That's why we saved beforehand. Okay, let's delete those and make this a simulation zone. Yep. Again, this is day one of it even existing, so expect some annoyances. Let's put that into there, and then we need that updating value in here. And it should be fine. That should be in there, that should be in there. Oh, and we have a kind of a duplicate value right there, so that should be good. Okay, yep, everything's reconnected, which means that if we plug this into here, we should see. There we go. Something's a little bit broken because it's not exactly the same. I wonder why. Let's compare. What went wrong? Looks almost exactly the same. But as we can see here, why did that happen? Oh, yeah, that's unchecked. There we go. Same result with simulation nodes and loops. As we can see, the node setups are, I get the locations right, they'll be pretty much identical. So you can see just how similar they are. Almost identical. Just one works with time, the other works with, just deterministic values. All right. Lovely. All right, any questions? I should have actually been reading the chat a little bit more. Okay, yep. Well, that seems good. It's a reflection of nature in many ways. Well, yeah, nature runs on many recursive principles. Can you animate the loop's value? You should be able to, but I'm a little bit worried that it'll crash. Let's try it. It works. You can animate the loop amount, which that's very good. That's one thing that we couldn't do with, okay, technically you could do it with node groups, but it would be a big pain in the buttocks. For those of you who saw my recursive subdivision thing, when I had to make the loop for that, it's a ton of node groups. Well, I had a switch node in the middle of it that would determine how many times it loops. Can you start over from the beginning? I missed everything. Oh, just kidding. I was going to say, well, you could rewind the live stream. Oh, and here we can randomize the seed for this. So yeah, basically, instead of having to make your trees extremely, with a lot of node groups, or having to wait for your simulation to play out, which I should probably disable this, so that it doesn't break my computer when it keeps going over 35 frames. Yeah. Is there much involved with integrating the patch? I think they're gonna spend a week or two finalizing the design before they merge the patch. But it should be fairly easy from what I've seen. Ooh, that's lovely. That looks like a proper tree. Yeah, there we go. Very cool, very nice. The power of the sun in the palm of my hand. I'm actually surprised how performant this is. Yep. It's actually nice not having to rely on simulations, like having to wait for it to play out when you make changes. So here, we can do that. Like, I should probably implement a proper size change effect. Because, that, not quite the best. Even though, with this mix value, the more... It's interesting, the behavior that arises because of it. Because if it's in the midpoint between the old kind of vector and the new randomized vector, it'll be short. But if it's at either the new vector or the old vector, it'll be super long, as we can see here. Here, super long. But when it's randomized, it's also super long. But when it's in the middle, it averages. Oh no, wait, it's just an average. Right? Yeah, no, just an average. So nothing too groundbreaking, that's just my brain being like, ooh, amazing. For no apparent reason. But I could, in theory... If I just... scale this by 0.5, plug that into there. Oh, interesting. I'm very surprised that it divided itself by that much. Intriguing. So here we can see a much more kind of natural interpretation of that. There we go. But it's also... Interesting. What if I put a random value into here, but also I need to feed in the seed value? Just a mess. So I don't necessarily need the mix in there, and it would give me more control just to do it with this method. Again, with scaling this to be half. But that's a deterministic. It's not a average. But if I do... this is getting more into the math. I apologize, everyone. I need to just, you know, we found a cool thing, so let's go and figure out how to make it look the prettiest it can. So I'm basically going to add both the vectors together, normalize it so that there's no loss in scale, and then I'm going to scale it using by the previous length. Oh, that gives us a very different look. Scale this down by a bit as well. Interesting. It's giving us a worse result. It's cool just to see how it is. Okay. Let's take that out. Boom, boom. That's fine. And I should probably have normalized the previous result. Alright, anything else? I'm gonna put in a scale here just so that's a little more customizable. Even though that does do that. So I need to, you know, work out the kinks with that, but it should be fine. Yeah, actually, just to make this effect a little prettier, let's, oh, this isn't a curve. I forgot about that. Extrude, mesh, edges. Yeah, that's okay. It's not the best. 5. Like I'm... Yeah, I should probably convert it into a curve. Yeah, let's do that. To curve. And then to mesh. Make this a circle. There we go. Uh-oh. No, curve circle. And then scale this down by a good amount. There we go. Very nice. It's a little thin, but I could store attributes for like its kind of scale and all of that. Here we go. I kind of imagine this like being an ice thing. But I would need to like store a good amount of that. Actually, we do have the loop data. Like the iteration loop data. Which maybe I should go... Yeah, let me go and change this from just an attribute that gets plugged into there into a stored named attribute. So this will be iteration, and integer is fine. So if we reference iteration, then we add, this will clean up the node tree by bit. Again, very similar to like the age value with simulation nodes. Basically the same. And then we just plug this into here and clean up the node tree. Almost 100%. There we go. So much cleaner. Lovely. And I'll just put this scale in there so that I can affect that normally, if need be. So much cleaner. Named attributes. Use them. Like, I do hear they're a little bit more expensive than the capture attribute node because I think that only uses the data when it's called. But in this case, it's a lot cleaner, I would say. But since we have the iteration data that we set, I can go and determine the radius by that. Iteration, oh no, set radius. That's what I mean to get. Set radius. And I need to put it after the conversion to the curve. Then I'll just use a map range to go and define it. I could set it up so that will automatically be the right length. But, how many iterations do we have? Oh, right, that changes. Dang it. I could just have that be a node group input, but let's do 37. 37, and then that, and then that. And it's not working. Oh, it does not propagate outside the geometry yet. Oh, I'm kind of... What did I do wrong? The material. I made 2 loops and Blender crashed. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But not entirely unexpected. Remember, this is day 1 of this. So expect, and this is an experimental patch. It's the geometry node editor. Iteration, iteration, that and that. So it works inside of it. Material 02. So that's B1. So the data does transfer. So why is it not doing what I want it to? It is. For some reason, the clamp is clamping the input. Wait, what? Why is that a negative? That doesn't make any sense. Maybe there's some weird stuff happening with the math. Wait, I did it again and it didn't crash. Welcome to experimental software. Oh wait, actually, is this all the same value? I think it may be. So there's a chance that this... Oh, wait, I know why it's happening as it is. Because it's giving the iteration count, not the kind of age, in quotes, count. That makes sense. It's unfortunate, but it makes sense. But since I'm a bit more of a tenacious fellow, I can go and change it up a bit. So I'll just have this as an age parameter. Plug this into here. Either one would work. And then we plug this into the output there. Now we should see, yep, it's working now. Very nice. So now we should see in here. There we go. Now it's working. Makes sense, finally. Even though it's interesting that some parts do not continue like others. It'll probably be fine. Oh, I think links might be deleted automatically with YouTube. So it probably didn't appear. But for those of you who want to experiment with this really bad, I'd say maybe go for it, but expect crashes. Again, we've had one crash so far during the stream, because this is the first day that's available on the experimental patch branch. Speaking of branch, let's go and make this a glowy branch. This is going to make lightning effects so much easier. Because essentially, this could kind of be lightning. Here we go. Lightning. Yeah, just look up Blender 4.0 serial loop patch, and then you'll probably find it. Most likely. Okay. In other news, I'm looking for it. Let's just... Eevee Next is not in 4.0 yet. It will be. It's planned, at least. With that, hopefully we get new volumetrics, screen space, global illumination, and a whole ton of other stuff, because that would be amazing. Let's go back into the geometry node editor. Just play around with this a little bit more. Go and do that. So again, this is very similar to simulation nodes. Just, you know, you can do all of your operations at once instead of having to wait for it to happen. Yep, and that means that we can do so many more intelligent effects, because it's like, oh, you want a tree branch to have kind of like a, I don't know, like an arc between there and there? Well, you could implement a thing that makes the angle properly work, if that makes sense in any sense of the word. Sorry, folks. A little bit tired, but I've been, you know, testing this out a bit today, and also some other math, which I'll probably show you. We're at 47 minutes, so I think I'll end this portion of the stream here, because it works just fine. That's good. So let me save this once again. I'll probably make that into like a little Twitter post saying, hey, loops, make this so simple, just boom, boom. Alright, so that's good. Anything else? Oh, the Blender launcher. I forget that the Blender launcher exists, since I use the regular old version. Let's see. There's no selection to the store named attribute. There is. There is. I think with the previous problem that I was having, it was because my math was just wrong. I was thinking that the iteration count would be for every particle when it was for the entire geometry, which I changed with the age thing. So here's another project I'm working on. You may have seen an effect like this before floating around on Twitter, Instagram, all that. But it is... Here, let me delete the lighting cache. I was meant to do that before. Well, let's just do high contrast. That's better. It's a loop room, where it loops a lot. Let's set this also to 96 so that it will loop seamlessly. Yep, let me just make this scene a little bit prettier for you all. I've been working on this quite a bit because this is one case where I need quaternion rotations, and we do not have the nodes for that. At least the proper ones for it. And I do not want to try do quaternion math manually. That is just way too complicated. But yes, there's the thing. It's cool. Takes a room, collection, Then it loops it just like the Minecraft room that I made a little bit ago. And now I'm trying to make it so that instead of it rotating on one axis, it can rotate on all of them at the same time. Which could be really freaking cool. Alright. Do I try making maximum trip mode? There we go. Yeah, no, let's try to... The one problem is the, making this all work well in terms of, like, saying where the new box is gonna be. Like, aligning this with that part over there is extremely difficult. So I need to figure out how to make that work properly. Here we can see it loops almost seamlessly if you ignore the parts getting recycled. Yeah, let me just undo that until it's back to where it was. So I'm just trying to figure out a little bit of the math. Okay. So yeah, I'm probably going to be working on that a bit more. Like, I'm trying to do semi-quaternion math with using the axis angle, which I know quaternions can be converted into. But it's just a whole really annoying mess. But one thing I do want to do, or I do want to see in 4.0, which I know the Blender devs have been experimenting with just a little bit, is matrix math, which essentially will make quite a bit of this a lot easier. Essentially combining a location, rotation, and scale all into one very, you know, easy to use thing, and I can use it with named attributes. And also, in theory, with matrices, since they're a 4x4 square grid of data, I could abuse that in order to, like, store a ton of floats in a named attribute very easily, and then just separate them when I need them, without doing any math in between. Even though if I did do math in between, I think it would freak out, because that's just how matrix math works. Alright. So yeah, I need to figure out a little bit of this math. The current issue, like, the effect is essentially done. Just the one problem is, if you want to, say, move this box to there, it's like, oh, it's a diagonal, so let me move it here. Oh, that's another diagonal. Here, another diagonal. It's just a real pain in the buttocks to do. But then when I do this, all of a sudden it's just like, oh, it's working better. Because I get to just move it on each axis independently. But the problem is, man, I am talking way too fast for my brain tonight. Case in point. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So just like that, I was able to put that there very easily. That's good. Ah, there you go, crazy cat. I'm surprised that works, but yeah. But here we can see that the loop is now broken because the part that's being offset isn't working properly. So I need to figure out how to fix that. Lots of fun stuff that I need to somehow figure out. I wonder. I wonder how I can make that work. I'm just gonna try adding and subtracting nodes until I get it to work right. Like here we have... No, there is no way that that's working. Like that's kind of working, but I think the diagonal problem... Yeah, no, the diagonal problem re-emerges. Like, I'm not even sure if it's possible to make just that simple, very easy to use method work. But I will try. There's Scholar Mate. Mate, I didn't even go to college for this. Or, yeah. I'm a scholar just because I'm a nerd that has way too much time on his hands currently. Or, you know, nothing else to do on a Friday evening, which is a little bit sad. I'm trying to fix that, which I will eventually. Self-taught prodigy. Don't use the word prodigy. That just... Yeah. That gives the imposter syndrome fuel, if that makes sense. It's just like, you're a prodigy. I'm like, no, there's no way in heck. And then it's like, oh, no, I am a nerd. That's better. Yes, I am a nerd. Big nerd. But yeah, I essentially need to make it so that the position offset only happens on the first index. Because the accumulate field node, it's a ton of math. Very annoying math, I will add. But I need to put this into a vector math multiply node. Ton of math, but once I make the math work properly, I will not need to look at it again. Which is good. And all this work is to make it so that the loop room can work on like multiple rotational axes rather than just the one. And when I get quaternion math, this will be a metaphorical breeze. But unfortunately, we do not have the quaternion math nodes, which hopefully will be in 4.0. So, on the good side, Blender 4.0 will be an amazing update for geometry nodes, basically bringing it up to, oh, we can do basically all the let me rephrase that. We can do many Houdini effects. Like matrix math and quaternion math and serial loops and parallel loops. If we get all 4 of those, which is being optimistic, but that would be incredible. That would be like, oh, we're in Houdini territory now. At least, you know, on the non-vellum / rigid body physics thing. Even though quaternion math would probably enable rigid body physics easily, and the serial loops would probably enable rigid body physics easily. Not easily, but possibly. I say all that to say, the future is bright, everyone. In the geometry node sphere. We just have to play the waiting game. But it looks like we're coming towards the end of that. Which, if we are, I am happy. What the? Oh, that is absolutely hilarious. So what I'm trying to do here is basically offset the entire accumulation right there. By adding the trailing thing to the kind of parent there. Except for scripting nodes. Yeah, but the thing is, we're getting to the point where the nodes can do most of the things that scripting can. Except not in the text format. Which I think there have been mock-ups for a scripting node, but what language would it be in? That's why I'm wondering. I mean, yeah, what, you know, language. Python, oh yeah. That would be the logical conclusion. Which it would be very good because Python has a lot of data available that is not available in geometry nodes. Like I was looking through the Python kind of API a little bit. Like just what's possible. And it's like, oh, here's every single piece of camera data you would ever need. And I'm like, wow. In geometry nodes, we can't even access the active camera. So being able to just go through and get the data from that would be incredible. But that would be, you know, I would like it because it's like, oh, you want all that, basically the entire power of any data you want, you can get it. That's what I really want in geometry nodes. Just look up the data, get it. It doesn't have to be like these little custom nodes right here because there's always going to be more of those. Well, if you were to hook it into the Python API and all that, you know, all that cool stuff, then you could just look it up in the documentation, which is a little bit of a hassle. But it's better than not having the data at all. Someone would be making bank by selling nodes on Blender Market. Ah, that person would be me. Kind of, yeah. But that's the good thing about geometry nodes. Like, we're going to be getting these subpanels in, which will make, you know, node groups a lot easier to go and, you know, a ton of quality of life things are coming in 4.0, which it feels like all the last pillars are coming together. 3.6 was like the, you know, we're finally getting simulation nodes in here, which have been a long-waited feature. But even longer than that have been the serial loops. That's been, like, we want that in the shader editor, which I highly doubt we're going to be getting in the shader editor, at least for, like, the next couple years. But, if ever. It's more of, like, when the developers decide to implement that. It would be very interesting if how they would implement that into the shader editor. Alright. But at least with geometry nodes, they got the kind of idea for it down. Why is that not offsetting everything else in the path? That's what I'm confused with. Just leading. Like, that one right there does not rotate whatsoever. This one does. So that means that one is actually rotating as it should. Right? No, wait, but I don't want it to rotate like that. Oh, lots of very, very annoying, like, with this whole thing, it's like, oh, you want to do that? Well, it'll only work in this situation, but not in that one. Kind of like with this one, but kind of not. Everything else. Multiply, but I also need to... I need to figure out how to make this part work. I think I'm just getting tangled in the nodes at this point. And, of course, that happens. Let's plug that into there as well. Excuse me? Like, it's so close to working. I can taste it. And then it's like, you know what? I don't think so. Because here we can see, it's so close to working. Like, those parts are working perfectly. Then the last part is just like, no, what if I make this like a not node? So that's not equal to that. Let's make this an add. So instead of subtract, we can add that. That kinda works. Like a fraction of what I wanted, but nope. Let's undo until I get this right. We're past an hour, so I'll probably go and turn off the stream. Okay, so that, it's kind of working. It's so incredibly close to actually functioning as intended. And this is mostly just a UI thing. I am going to keep micromanaging this until it does work, and then I'll reel it back and make it so that it's not micromanaged. Set this to 2. Okay, that's kind of resetting it. If I change this to an add, that makes it not great. So that's a dead end. I don't want to do that, because that will just Wait a second. Nope. Okay, no, that just wrecks that part of it. Slide all the unused sockets there just so that I get 0.1% less confused. Equal, but if I make it not equal. Wait, did that just work? Nope, it broke it. Equal. It should really work. Like the funny, oh wait. No, but that, wait. Sorry everyone, I'm getting very confused. I think I just pushed the error down the line. Like, that's just rotating from its origin point, which it should not be. Like, this should be rotating from the origin point of its parent. The origin point of its parent. Wait a minute. No, but that won't work properly either. Let's see. It's amazing to me that Blender even exists. It used to be a massive It used to be just massive corporate media companies with software like this. Of course, Blender is still behind, but we are getting there. Yeah. At least in the, you know, Houdini forefront, Blender is extremely behind because Blender geometry nodes just started existing less than 3 years ago. Blender is becoming used very widely in the industry. Like, it's being used in games. Like, I don't want to say too much, but a game that I worked on a while ago is going to be released in a few months. And I used Blender to work on it a little bit. That was like my first kind of, I guess, internship. But that game, I want to see if any of my work made it into the final part. But yeah, Blender is used for a lot these days. A lot of people that I know, professionals, are switching, either have or are switching to Blender just because it's simpler. It's you don't have to worry about a subscription service. It's much more varied. There's a lot more support for it. You work in game dev? I used to. I worked, I need to check my NDA to see if I'm still bound by that, but I worked on a game that's gonna be coming out in a few months. It kind of went through like 2 years of development delays. But yeah, I worked on it for a little bit. Yeah. Yep. I really do need to check up on that NDA. It's been like 2 years. Let's see. I've also seen people using it for scientific research. Yes, there is it City Skylines? Nope, no it's not. Nope. It's it's a game with a ton of fuzzy creatures wanting to beat the absolute crud out of each other. It's a cute game. But I think you could find it based off that. It used to be, like, very widespread. Like, a lot of people were playing the demo of it. Back in, like, 2021, I believe. But then it got delayed again and again. Well, someone may have guessed it right there. Just maybe. Again, I don't know if my NDA is up. But I think I could say that I was working on it. But, just to be safe, there's a chance that what that person said is true. But yeah. Yeah. I worked on it for a little bit, so don't get too excited. I would kind of be surprised with how long I've been off not working on it. I would be surprised if the stuff I made for it made it into the final thing. But if one of them did, I would be extremely happy. Which also, speaking of things that are coming up soon, You may see some of my work popping up in some of the 3.6 news, so keep an eye out. Keep an eye out. Working as a dev or making assets in 3D? Stuff for assets, I'll just say that. Which, funnily enough, I'm still working in that same kind of vein even now for game stuff. So yeah, once that game does come out, I'm gonna be like, I will point to the 1 or 2 things I made in there, if they make it, if any of them make it, and I'll be like, I made that, and it'll be incredible. But we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I just need to figure out this one math problem. Do you have any open portfolio? Sorry, I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that, but I have like an ArtStation page where I have like most of my work. Not my professional work, because, well, a lot of my professional stuff is under NDAs, so I cannot share a lot about it. Basically anything, all that's like pretty locked up. Okay. Wait a second, why did that work so easily? Because it's broken, that's why! Ah, lovely. I guess that does... Wait a second, no, that means that will work. I just need to... scale it up. Or divide it? 0.5? No, okay. Divide by 2? Divide by 2, then divide by 2. So it is kind of... Huh. I would be surprised if this... functions as intended. 0.5. Like 2 for that. To know you were in ArtStation, yep. I don't use it often, which may hurt my portfolio, but, you know, when I make something that I'm, like, really proud of, like, I'm not showing off a lot of my simulation stuff because it's very much, extremely experimental. It works! Yes! Wait, actually, let's play it to make sure it does. Okay. Why? Why does it work? Why does it work? So it's still just a tad broken. Like, something's still not right with it. But at least it's a lot easier to deal with. Like a whole crud muffin ton. I'm actually surprised that I got it to work while I was distracted with the chat. And we don't even need those in there. That's really good. Wait a second. Wait a minute. Oh no, okay, no, that does break it. Okay. Okay, so let's go and... Let's multiply this to the actual values. And then... Okay, so that makes it rotate properly. So I'll set this to 1 and 0.5. Interesting how that doesn't work. So let me multiply this part by 0.5 as well. And see if that... Okay, now that makes it do the same exact thing. So it's mostly there, but there's still a few little issues to iron out. But it's almost there. Like, there's a lot of redundant nodes that I need to figure out. Wait, I need to scale that by 0.5. But it is, again, mostly there. The rotation axis is wrong. I'm actually... Uh-oh. Yeah, something's not right. Okay, yep, no, it's broken. I celebrated way too early. Because the big problem is that it's not moving properly with this other method. But maybe I can, like, semi-reverse engineer it. So we have a version that kind of works. Alright, but I'll end the stream here. I'll work on this off-stream. But thank you all for watching. Hopefully 4.0 will be the best update to geometry nodes we've ever had. Because then we'll be able to make any node we want. And it's gonna be great, I can assure you. Lots of cool things will be available. So yes, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.